Well, Sitaram, and a pleasant morning to all of our viewers and listeners, and happy Thursday to each and every one of you. Welcome to the program Addiction and Recovery. I am your moderator this morning, Jason Glue, and join me as we welcome the host of the program to Addiction and Recovery, Mr. Ramnaresh Dwarka. Sitaram to you, sir.
I'm Jason. Thank you very much for having me on the program. And let me join with you in welcoming all our listeners, brothers and sisters in Trinidad and Tobago and entirely in the entire world. I know that we do reach a lot of people on the social media as well, on Facebook. And it's a beautiful day today, Jason. I know we're starting a few minutes late, but it's better late than never. And we have been talking about the 12 steps of recovery. I want to thank your team for selecting that little video before that speaks about addiction. I couldn't agree more. I think it was very concise and to the point. Finally, it fits in with the formula of recovery. That is, you avoid that first drink, that first smoke, that first whatever it is that you're addicted to, one day at a time. And if one day is too long, you can break it down to 1 minute, 1 second at a time. And it works. So that it doesn't matter how tall you are, how long your legs are. You can only make one step at a time, Jason. So that, and that is good. It is good that we think that, because happiness is always, as he said, in the present moment, staying in the present moment. So just to summarize what we have been doing, I'll read from there's a book called The 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, which gives a nice summary of what we have been talking about over the last several weeks. And it says that step 1 showed us an amazing paradox. We found that we were totally unable to be rid of alcohol obsession until we first admitted we were powerless over it. People find that strange. They think if you want to beat something, you want to overcome something, you have to have power over it. But in this case, you're admitting that, look, you see me, I can't handle this. I'm going to play with it now. And so you accept powerlessness. In step 2, we saw that since we could not restore ourselves to sanity, some higher power must necessarily do so if we were to survive. And that is, we would have tried every single strategy we know to fix this drinking or drug problem, and we would have failed. So this is why we have to turn to something outside of ourselves. Consequently, in step 3, we turned our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. For the time being, we who were atheists or agnostic discovered that our own group, or AA as a whole, would suffice as a higher power. Beginning with step 4, we commenced to search out the things in ourselves which had brought us to physical, moral, and spiritual bankruptcy. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory. Looking at step 5, we decided that an inventory taken alone wouldn't be enough. We knew we would have to quit the deadly business of living alone with our conflicts, and in honesty confide these to God and another human being. At step 6, many of us balked. That is, we felt discouraged for the practical reason that we did not wish to have all our defects of character removed, because we still love some of them too much. Yet we knew we had to make a settlement with the fundamental principle of step 6. So we decided that while we still had some flaws of character that we could yet not relinquish, we ought nevertheless to quit our stubborn, rebellious hanging on to them. We said to ourselves, this I cannot do today, but perhaps. But I can stop crying out no or never. Then in step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings, such as He could or would under the conditions of the day we asked. In step 8, we continued our house cleaning, for we saw that we were not only in conflict with ourselves, but also with people and situations in the world in which we lived. We had to begin to make our peace, and so we listed the people we had harmed and became willing to set things right. We followed this up in step 9 by making direct amends to those concerned, except when it would injure them or other people. By this time, at step 10, we had begun to get a basis for living, daily living that is, and we keenly realized that we would not need to continue taking personal inventory. And let me go over that we would need to continue taking personal inventory, and that when we were in the wrong, we ought to admit it promptly. In step 11, we saw that if we had a higher power, that our higher power had restored us to sanity and had enabled us to live with some peace of mind in a sorely troubled world. Then such a higher power was worth knowing better. By as direct contact as possible, the persistent use of meditation and prayer, we found, did open the channel so that where there had been a trickle, there now was a river which led to sure power and safe guidance from God, as we were increasingly better able to understand Him. And that brings us to step 12 that we are going to be talking a little bit about today, Jason.
Mhm.
Now, these are not in any way, as I have said before, a complete and detailed discussion about these principles. And in fact, in reading them or hearing about them, you get information. But these are supposed to lead us to an experience, and you can only get that from practicing these principles that we have spoken about, putting them. So action is the key word here. You know, there's a saying that faith without works is dead. So that I think even Jesus said that, you know, when he was questioned if on the Sabbath day, you know, he saw somebody, donkey fell into a well, what do you do? Well, of course, he wouldn't go and kneel at the side of the well and pray. Praying is good, but you have to put a hand out. And this is what step 12 is about. It is about putting your hand out. So that AA has a principle that says, a pledge that they have made, that whenever anyone, anywhere, reaches out for help, I want the hand of AA to be there, and for that I am responsible. That's a pledge that every AA member takes. So that when they reach out, it is not because they're trying to do anybody else a favor, you know, Jason. They're doing themselves the greatest favor. But step 12 is really divided into 3 parts. The first part, and let me just read the step, it says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So there are 3 parts. One is that they guarantee that once we did from step 1 to step 11, we are going to have a spiritual awakening. And what is a spiritual awakening? I will talk about that in a minute. The second part of this step is that we carry the message to the person who is still suffering. And the third part of this step is that we practice it in all of our affairs. Like I mentioned, by practicing it, we get an experience, you know? So what is a spiritual awakening? A spiritual awakening is the ability to do and feel and believe that which we could not do before. It is a new state of consciousness. You know, the alcoholic, and remember, I speak also as a person in recovery, that, you know, there's always that feeling of inadequacy. Jason, I don't know if you have experienced this, you know, but there's that, you know, people like me, I feel very self-conscious. I am afraid of making a fool of myself. So like if I had to go to ask a girl to dance or anything, I had to take a good few drinks to feel adequate to the situation or to make a speech. And I've seen that happen with so many people. And I remember one time, you know, I was required to make a speech at my cousin's wedding. And boy, I primed myself up with so many drinks that I went and I actually spoke about I spoke the truth about how we used to thief mango and all of that. he wasn't too happy to hear all of those things, but it is because I had a good few drinks in my head. So that there's always the feeling of inadequacy, not being able to come up to the situation. It leads to low self-esteem as well, or it is rooted in low self-esteem, this feeling of inadequacy. And this is why in recovery, a person in recovery of necessity has to challenge themselves, to do things that they were afraid to do before. And these steps is what prepares the person, gives you that confidence, give you that ability to rely on your higher power. And it is by practicing doing it, you realize, but wait, I didn't think I could do this. Like a person early in recovery, they would be asked to hold responsibilities in their group. First, you may get the job of being the coffee man, and then you eventually get to be the chairman of the group or the secretary of the group or the treasurer of the group and so on. And these are things that you may not have ever done before in your life. But because in AA, there's what is called a process of rotation, where everyone, it doesn't matter your educational level, once you are given a chance to take responsibility, which gives you the confidence so that later on you can, as I've said before, become able to do things that you never believed you could have do before. You understand? You become in possession of a degree of honesty, tolerance, and unselfishness, a peace of mind and love that you had never experienced before. So that all of these are included in what is described as that spiritual awakening, that peace of mind that one enjoys. So that from step 1, as I said, to step 11 is really a preparation to receive this gift of joy and peace of mind and serenity and so on. So that the second step, the second part of this step is carrying the message. And this is the whole purpose of AA. In fact, the whole purpose of the fellowship is to carry its message to this alcoholic who still suffers. And that comes straight out of the preamble, which says that Alcoholics is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. Now, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose, AA says, is that you stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So that the primary purpose of the group and the individual AA member is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that is what is written. That's the second part of this step. How do you carry the message? And this is one of the reasons, Jason, I'm happy that we could explain this today, because a lot of people have all kinds of misconceptions about AA. Some people, you have to feel that you have to go real bad. You have to be a skid row bum. You have to be a homeless person, unkempt and all of that before. And even then, they still don't want to go to AA, because they think AA is when you're going real bad. But I have seen young people of every ethnic group, every social status, come to AA and getting help. Because alcoholism cuts across all barriers. You understand? It doesn't matter whether you're drinking punch and rum in Caroni or you're drinking scotch in West Moorings. They're all alcohol, and one might vomit in a drain, the other on carpet. But the sickness is the same. The behavior is the same. The results eventually will be, the disaster will be the same. In fact, sometimes you think that people could afford to drink who are well off, they are worse because they could afford to buy more rum and kill themselves faster than the guy who doesn't have any rum. Maybe his poverty might save him for a little while, So that carrying the message is one of the main missions of the fellowship and its members. But how do you do that? Well, this program is one way of sensitizing our public And AA members in Trinidad in particular, they have become very evangelical. Unlike where AA developed in the United States, Jason, here in Trinidad, alcoholics, as soon as they go to AA and they find out what they can get in AA and they start staying sober, boy, they want to sober up all their friends. You know, they go looking for all their drinking partners and all of that. And soon enough, because we have so many AA groups in Trinidad, that, you know, in every community, people will take notice. They'll, you know, all of a sudden you see this guy who was drunk and falling down all over the place. You see him all dressed up nice, and sometimes with a tie and all of that, going to church, or with kurta and all of that, going to temple on a Sunday. You can't help take note, but what happened with him? You know, all of a sudden, you know, and then they make inquiries and find out because this kind of news don't really stay hidden for very long in like communities like in which I live here. You only have to go to your first AA meeting and everybody get, hey, he going to AA, boy, I see him going to the school, because they know on a Sunday, everybody who going to the school is a AA meeting in the evening. You understand? And they see you coming out. So it's AA is not a secret society. And so there's a structure in Trinidad. You have the groups, then you have the intergroups that administer to the various groups in geographical areas. Like where I live here, we are covered by what is called Central Intergroup. You have Southern Intergroup, you have Northern Intergroup. And then all these groups are affiliated with what is called the General Service Board of Trinidad and Tobago. The General Service Board has an arm called the Public Informations Committee. And they are responsible for going to the various institutions. They have a treatment facilities committee as well, that goes to Cora, goes to the prisons, goes to Heal House, these various institutions, and speak to the inmates there, the patients there, so that they become aware of AA, the presence of AA, the availability of AA as part of their public relation policy. Then a lot of groups, even local groups and intergroups, they have pamphlets that give information about Alcoholics Anonymous, and they put these in police stations, in pharmacies, in doctors' offices, and they make it available to churches and other non-governmental organizations, so that the word is out there. You know, I know that the Central Intergroup, for instance, has a booth at Diwali Nagar every Diwali, you know, and a lot of people go there, and they some of them for the first time realize there's something called Alcoholics Anonymous. A lot of people see AA and probably think it's American Airlines, you know, but it is Alcoholics Anonymous.
Right.
And they are able to ask questions, they are able to pick up literature. And of course, on this program, we also speak about Alcoholics Anonymous. For the last few weeks, we have been talking about a program that is used in AA, so that people will not have a wrong impression. A lot of people believe you go to AA to talk your business. Everybody will know your business and all of that. Well, I'll tell you something, the rum shop does a better job on that. When you're drunk in a rum shop, everybody know your business. You understand? So, and this is one of the reasons AA has found itself to be much more successful in carrying the message. You know, I worked in several treatment facilities. At Cora, I was the director at Piparo. I was director of family services. I was president of the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Addiction. And in all these areas, you know, we try to help people who have become addicted and alcoholics to be rehabilitated. But I'm sorry to say that medicine and the church put together only have a 3% success rate, you know, Jason. But Alcoholics Anonymous, that has over 3 million members now worldwide, and groups in every country almost of the world. And now they have an online presence as well. So you can imagine the whole world, just like we access social media, you can access Alcoholics Anonymous now. And there are meetings that are running 24 hours continuously. So it has become much more available. That's one of the legacies of COVID, Sometimes bad things happen for a good reason if we can take it out of it. And that's one of the tenets of recovery, where you can take any bad situation even after you stop drinking. It's called reframing. AA members who are in recovery, mature AA members, they learn to reframe no matter what life throws at them. They turn it around, like the old saying, if life gives you a lemon, you make
Mm.
lemonade. That's one of the valuable tenets in recovery. Something that I myself practice, no matter what the problem, I'm going to find something, some way to deal with it and learn from it and gain from it. So yes, AA has been found to be about 85% successful. A
Right.
lot of people come, and about 50 to 60% who go to AA initially will stay sober. A few of them will relapse maybe once or twice, or maybe quite a few times before eventually they remain sober. Unfortunately, about 15 to 20% may relapse and probably never come back or die still trying. But
Um,
yes.
yes, okay. Based on what you just said, let's keep it right in Trinidad, particularly. Would you say that we actually have a higher recovery rate than those that would relapse compared to other countries?
Definitely, definitely. And it is because, look, I have done research in Jamaica when I was a student there at the university. My thesis was on alcoholism in Jamaica, so I have a fairly good idea. And I've been looking at what's happening in the rest of the Caribbean. And indeed, the history of AA and all of that would have been part of my study. And I can tell you, thank God for people like Professor Berbrand and the old timers who brought AA to Trinidad way back in 1956, Jason. AA didn't come to Jamaica and Barbados and all these places. In fact, the Trinidad AA really went to Grenada and all these places and helped to start up AA groups. So that AA has been in Trinidad in particular for a very long, since 1956, because of the efforts of these people before. And as a result, we have about like 100 and something AA groups. In my community alone, Jason, there are 5 AA groups in Felicity. Actually, I was invited by a group last night that started a meeting because of the COVID in the gardens where we have the farmlands near the mangrove there. And these fellas built a tent, and there were a lot of all the schools that were used before had to be closed down. They were mandated to shut down during the COVID during a particular time. And a lot of our AA groups, they hold their meetings in the schools. And let me take this opportunity to thank Mr. Maraj of the Mahasabha, who has given full support. When the elder Mr. Maraj, Sat Maraj, was there, he openly um, I mean spoke of his support for the AA groups. In any community, he was willing to give the schools for AA members to use for their meetings. And indeed, in this community, the Felicity Hindu School has been housing a meeting for more than 40 years, every Sunday evening, religiously. And yes, it was closed during the COVID, but the Felicity Serenity group switched over with the technology to host their meetings on the Zoom platform like we are doing now, so that that group never closed. And another group formed, as I said, in the gardens, in a shed there that was using for farm purposes. And now they celebrated their 1 year anniversary last night, and there was some like 40 people there. You understand? And as I say this group in Felicity Serenity, has been hosting marathon meetings over the last 25 years in this community. Like for Christmas, they have 24-hour meetings continuous. And for this Easter Sunday, in Trinidad, every holiday is an excuse to drink rum. And we have been habituated in that kind of thing. So especially people who are new in the fellowship, when they have occasions like these long weekends and the holidays and the Christmas and all of that, they they kind of miss the drinking and the camaraderie and so on. And this is why the Felicity Serenity A group is hosting an extended meeting on Sunday, which is Easter Sunday, From 6, they go right on until 12. So that rather than people go and sit down by themselves and feel, self-pity, that is, they feel sorry for themselves, everybody's having a good time, gone off for the weekend and all of that, there's a place they can come. In fact, tonight I've been invited to speak at another group in Balmain, a group that is now resuming meetings at the Balmain school at 7 o'clock this evening. So those of you who are interested, AA members in recovery, you can come. There are going to be other speakers as well, I understand, on that platform. The meeting will be running from 7 to 11. So again, there is a sanctuary available for people around this time to go and learn more about AA. And let me say, most of our meetings in Trinidad are open meetings. That is to say, anyone with an interest in alcoholism or an interest in recovery, they can attend. So that being said, the groups, the main purpose of these groups are to carry the message. And these are examples of groups making an attempt to carry the message and to sustain the message as well. So you would find AA members, like I said earlier, who just start staying sober and beginning to experience the beauty of a sober life. They immediately able to sleep better, eat better, start to regain the respect of their family and the communities. They start going out now and speaking to other alcoholics who they used to probably drink with before. And then what happens, like I said, other families noticing this person who used to be drunk every, and in the community, now finding out he's going to AA, may come and ask him, come and speak to my son or my brother or my husband, And AA members have been found to be much more successful than even people like myself, professionals, the social workers and counselors and psychiatrists, because their approach is non-threatening. It is much more easy. So that, let me give you an idea. An AA member going to carry a message. Let's suppose an AA member is asked to go and speak to someone in their village who is drinking, or he might himself see. How the AA members go about this, Jason? They'll pray and ask God to help them, to make that connection, to make that contact. They'll pray about it first, so that God will create the opportunity for them to be able to speak to this person. And then they will go to the person, and they never speak to the alcoholic in front of his wife or children or family or brothers and sisters, because this is not to humiliate the person and embarrass them. You cannot embarrass an alcoholic into coming to AA. They will rebel. And that is what family members make a mistake all the time, trying to rub your nose in it, as it were, and hoping that you would, out of shame, try to do something about your drinking. But alcoholics what they do, they just become more stubborn. So the alcoholic who is carrying the message, the person in recovery, sometimes he will go with somebody else. Usually it is two AA members who will come to speak to the person. They take them aside, and you don't call the person by the drinking rum name, bunk or drunk or whatever. You call them by the proper name, and you call them with the title, Mr. So-and-so. If you don't have that close relationship, you let them know, you show them that you respect them. And you don't talk to them about their drinking, even though the wife or whoever might have told you how bad they've been drinking and mashing up the things and so on. You speak about your drinking. You may want to tell the person, look, boy, I used to drink. And this is how I started. And these are some of the things that happened with me when I was drinking. And, while he's talking, you could see the guy shaking his head like you're shaking your head, Jason. And recognizing and identifying with what the person is saying without feeling threatened, because he didn't say nothing yet. He didn't say being personal, He talking about himself. But in talking about himself, the alcoholic is realizing, but wait now, boy, them same thing happened with me. Maybe here's a person who understands what I'm going through. You understand? And this is actually what happens in an AA meeting as well. When a person goes to an AA meeting, they hear people talking about themselves, and then they identify with them and realize, but wait, same thing was happening with me. I would drink, I would forget how I reach home. You know, there will be quarrels, next day vomiting and all kind of thing, or seeing and hearing things that are not there, you know, and that is what really, you know, carries the message. Now, there are other people who may not be as eloquent and be able to speak, but just by going to meetings, when an alcoholic go to the meeting in the community and say, well, wait now, I didn't know he stopped drinking. I thought he died already, but look, he's there and he's looking clean and, you know, well kept and well groomed and well dressed. And he listening to these guys who couldn't read and write. He's speaking like professors. These things impress the new man, even though you may not have said anything. So that in this step, people carry the message even indirectly. If you, by doing little chores, making the coffee, preparing a meeting place, just being there, or giving, lending support financially so that you make the carriage of the message possible, you know, by providing pamphlets, supporting the General Service Board, the intergroups and all of that. There's a structure where AA members, they give, put money in a hat, you know, no, there's no limit. Well, there's an upper limit in that you are not allowed to put more than a certain amount because, you know, alcoholics have this ability, this tendency to be grandiose, you know, because of their ego. So if they put in plenty money, they want to brag about it and feel that they own the group and all of that. No, AA protects against all of those things. So that carrying the message and practicing these principles, the third part of the step is to practice these principles in all your affairs. So now let's go back to step 10, for instance, which is really how you maintain your sobriety. Step 10 says we continue to take up personal inventory, and when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it. So if when you're wrong, you have to promptly admit it and say you're sorry, right? Make amends. And when you are right, you have to forgive. You realize what will happen, Jason. You're not going to have enemies, you know. And you're not going to be stuck to anyone because of resentment and anger and all of that. Because most of the time, you know, when people rub us the wrong way or we have a conflict with them, we, you know, and we don't forgive or they don't make amends to us, we develop resentment against them. And resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. You know, we go to bed with them, we get up with them. Now they take up, it's like they take rent space in our head. So that step 10 helps us to have a clear mind. Can you imagine if you have a clear mind without all of these prejudices and all of these biases and resentment and all of that? You have your whole mind available to you, you know, Jason, to bring to bear on the decisions you have to make. That is what will help us, you know, when we have all of our faculties and we have God's guidance as well. We are not fearful anymore. Our mind is in a place that will help us to make choices that will continue to make our life better and better. Because who you are today, Jason, how you are, myself, it is based on the choices we made in the past, isn't it? Right?
Sure.
And every choice will bring us to where we are today. And if we are not in such a good place, we need to go back and see what are the choices we made to bring us here. What were the roads we took? You know, what were the corners we made? So that we need to, at least from today, and I'm saying to all our brothers and sisters out there, from today, you could make that choice. And if you've been drinking and getting yourself into trouble, I urge you, today is the only day we all have. It doesn't matter how much money Jason have or whoever. You know, if you're a billionaire, you only have one day, you know, Jason. I only have one day. The vagrant only have one day too. So today is the only day we have. None of us have a guarantee for tomorrow. But if we live today good, we do make the right choices today, when tomorrow comes, chances are we would be in a better place. Because today is the foundation block for tomorrow. You understand? So I'm asking all our brothers and sisters who are listening out there, make that choice today. Right? If you have a drinking problem, only you could decide that. If you're honest with yourself, you would know that drinking is causing problems and you are listening to this program, Well, I'll tell you something. Nothing in God's world has happened by accident. If you are listening to this program, it is because God wanted you to listen to this program, right? Maybe God is trying to use me and Jason to get a message to you that maybe you need to do something about your drinking. And today is the only day. And if you wish to do that, all you have to do is to call. You can call me at 671-3040. You can call the television station, and I give the station permission to give my number, whether it be my office number or cell number. I'm always eager and passionate, Jason, to help alcoholics, because as a person in recovery, I would not wish my worst enemy to be an alcoholic who is still practicing, because I have been there, done that. I know there's a saying: you could run, you could walk, you could creep, you could even crawl to freedom, Jason, but you cannot stagger to freedom. Because when we are drinking, our life is not going anywhere. And I found that out myself. After all these years of drinking, it was like I was marking time in one spot. You know, there's a saying: when you're drunk, you'll walk, go 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward, 2 steps sideways, and then you fall down. And actually, you're not even staying in one place. My experience is you go into a retrograde step. Even the little respect that people had for me before I started to drink, I lost that. I lost my own confidence in myself as well, my own self-respect. I started to accept, you know, I had to myself as I had become. And I was not happy with that kind of person. When I look in the mirror and what I was seeing there, I was not happy with, because you see, that fella in the mirror, Jason, he don't lie, you know. And if you can't look him in the eye, you have a problem. You understand? So I'm saying to all our brothers and sisters today, all you have to do if you want to stop, you just, today is the day. You just avoid that other drink. You can stop after this program and pray to the God of your understanding. Just ask God, no long prayers. If He led you to listen to this program, then God is not a God of chaos, you know. There's a reason why He led you to listen to this program. If you have a relative who is suffering with alcoholism or drug addiction, then you can give them the message. You can let them know that help is available. There, all you have to do is to call the number. There's AA groups in all the communities. There's NA groups, and we would only be too happy to help you, to give you the information and the guidance. So that I want to thank you, Jason. I know we're coming up on time, but if you have any questions or anyone has any question, of course, in this program, you can ask a question at any point in time. And I have no difficulty saying I don't know when I don't know. You understand?
Well, I
But
know we're out of time, but just one quick question. Even though, yes, you follow all these steps, you're being totally honest with yourself. Is there any kind of external factors that actually causes someone to relapse that someone out there can actually look out for?
it's a very valuable question you asked, Jason. Thank you for it. The fact is, alcoholism and drug addiction is a relapsable illness. Even the best of us, right? But there's very little chance, if a person is practicing these steps. Actually, the big book says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has practiced this program. Those who do not recover are people who just can't be honest with themselves. You understand? And once you can be honest with yourself, and you keep attending your meetings, and you make to the best of your ability to practice these principles. And there's also another saying that whenever everything else fail to keep a person sober, this step, intensive work with other alcoholics, never fails. Because, Jason, if you're trying to help someone else stay sober, God is not going to let you fall. So after this program, find a quiet place, ask God to help you to stay sober, but you pray to God as though everything depends on God, but you have to work as though everything depends on you. So you're going to have to, if you want to stay sober, you have to stay away from the drinking, the slippery places, slippery people. You understand? There's a saying in Trinidad, you know, if you don't want to get messed with blood, don't go hang around the butcher stall. You understand? You'll get messed up. So stay away from those places. Come to the AA meeting, pray to the God of your understanding, and do it one day at a time. And I'm sure every one of you listening out there can stay sober for the rest of the day. And if
Okay, well,
today is too long, you just tell yourself, you see that next drink? I ain't taking it. Because no drink is going to make any situation better. Thank you
definitely.
very much for having me this morning, Jason. And I hope that people out there listening would have benefited from the program.
And of course, thank you very much for always taking the time to do this program. Here's wishing each and every one of you a wonderful and a safe long weekend ahead. Join us next Thursday, same time, same station. Until then, see you around.